He was a hero to millions of people, a man who built a business empire using just his own two hands and a big bright smile. But on October 7th, 2025, the world saw a totally different side of Dave Sparks, the man everyone knew as Heavy D. He wasn't in a monster truck or on TV. Instead, he was wearing handcuffs and being taken to the Salt Lake County Jail. How did this larger-than-life star of Diesel Brothers fall down so hard and so fast? The story is way sadder than you might think, made strong by hard times. Way before he had fame, money, and monster trucks, Dave Sparks was just a regular kid from Utah. He watched his own hero, his dad, fight a battle that seemed like it could never be won. When Dave was young, his dad got very sick with a brain tumor. The doctors said he only had a few weeks left to live, but his father didn't want to give up. For 20 whole years, Dave watched his dad fight against his sickness, getting knocked down by health problems over and over again, but always getting right back up every single time. In Dave's own words, he watched his dad just get beat up really bad, and then get right back up. This taught Dave something really powerful. You should never ever quit, no matter what. Sadly, when Dave was only 21 years old, his father's long fight finally ended. Losing his father wasn't the only hard time his family went through. Because of the brain tumor, his dad had to leave the military for medical reasons, and the family lost everything they had. They had no home to live in. Can you even imagine that? For 6 whole weeks, the entire Sparks family had to live inside a van. His parents did whatever jobs they could find to make money. They put car stereos in cars and delivered Domino's pizza to people's houses. When his dad felt too sick from his cancer medicine, his mom would go out and deliver his pizzas for him, just so they could have enough money to survive. Living through that kind of really hard struggle changes a person forever. For Dave, it started a fire burning inside him. He saw what it felt like to have absolutely nothing, and he made a promise to himself. He would build a life where his own family would never ever have to go through that kind of pain. He learned from his father that you could look at something impossible and just refuse to lose. He took on his father's way of thinking, saying, "The way I look at life is that your worst thing that could happen really isn't that bad." That fighting spirit and never-break attitude would become the power that pushed his amazing rise to the top. But it would also become the exact same thing that caused his sad downfall. Building the diesel empire. Dave Sparks was born loving anything with engines and wheels. From the time he was a really little kid, he was super interested in anything that had an engine and wheels on it. His very first project was a 1976 Yamaha YZ80 motorcycle, which he built and made special all by himself. While other kids his age were playing sports or video games, Dave spent most of his time in high school learning about fixing cars, welding metal together, and how to make parts from scratch. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with his entire life. After high school ended, he ran an ATV and motorcycle rental business for a close friend and teacher, which gave him tons and tons of hours learning by doing the actual work. He tried going to college, signing up at Weber State University, but after just 1 semester, he knew that sitting in a classroom wasn't right for him. He believed he could learn way more in the real world by actually doing the work with his own hands. So, he quit college and started his own small digging and building business, running big heavy machines for his uncle's construction company and building things like rock walls and waterfalls. It was really hard work, but it belonged to him. Then, in 2008, he made a choice that would change his entire life forever. He hired his very first employee, his best friend, David Kiley, who everyone would very soon know as Diesel Dave. The two guys had met at a church event for young single people, and their shared love for all things with engines made them a perfect team right away. Together, they were a really powerful force working as one. Dave Sparks got his dealer's license, opened up a small used car lot, and started working really hard to build his dream company, which he called Diesel Sellers. The main idea was simple, but it was also brilliant and smart. They would go find old, crashed, or forgotten diesel trucks, pull them back to their workshop, and change them into huge, really cool custom machines that nobody had ever seen anything like before. Then they would sell these trucks on the internet, but they added a really smart twist to make it even better. They started giving away one of their incredible custom trucks in a contest every single month to one lucky winner. This wasn't just a regular business anymore. It was the start of a brand. An empire built on diesel fuel, smoke, and living the American dream. From YouTube videos to being television stars. Before they became TV stars, the Diesel brothers were the kings of the internet and online videos. Dave and his team started filming their work inside the shop with cameras. They weren't just fixing up old trucks. They were pulling crazy pranks on each other, doing wild stunts, and showing off their huge creations. They did it in a way that was really fun and exciting to watch. They posted these videos on YouTube, and people absolutely could not get enough of them. Their channel grew like crazy, getting millions of followers who loved their over-the-top style and their real, genuine friendship with each other. Their fame online got so huge that it caught the attention of a television legend named Jay Leno. He invited them to come be guests on The Tonight Show, and that appearance put them on a completely new level of fame. All of a sudden, everyone in America knew who these bearded, fun-loving guys from Utah were. It wasn't very long before Hollywood came calling on them. The Discovery Channel saw what everyone else was seeing, which was pure entertainment and fun. In 2016, the show called Diesel Brothers started airing on TV, and it became an instant massive hit right away. The show was all about building the biggest, most incredible trucks on the entire planet. They took regular, ordinary vehicles and turned them into unforgettable icons that people would never forget. One of their most famous creations they built was called the Mega Ram Runner. It started its life as a rolled-over, salvaged Ram 2500 truck that had been in a crash. The team stretched out the frame and body, adding a third row of doors to create a massive truck with 6 doors total. Underneath the body, they put in a 600-horsepower Cummins engine, a custom Ford transmission, and massive Axletech 4000 planetary axles that each weighed as much as a small car by themselves. The whole entire thing, weighing over 14,000 pounds, rode on 43-inch military tires. It was a true monster that became a legend when they showed it off at the SEMA Auto Show in 2014. They built another giant truck they called Hercules, which was a Chevy Duramax that stood an incredible 11 feet tall from the ground. It started as a crashed truck that had been in a head-on crash with another vehicle. The crew built a custom tube sub-chassis that lifted the body up high enough to fit 64-inch tires underneath it, also using those massive Axletech 4000 axles to hold it up. Even with all that power and huge size, they kept the inside looking almost like a regular truck, creating a weird but totally awesome mix of a normal daily driver and a monster truck together. Their truck builds were legendary and famous, but their team-ups with other people were even bigger and better. They worked together with the legendary actor Chuck Norris to design and build a truck they called Truck Norris. It was based on Heavy D's personal Chevy Silverado that he called Zeus. They gave it a powerful Duramax engine, a custom suspension system, and huge 40-inch Nitto tires. The best part of the whole story was that Norris needed the truck ready for a commercial in just 3 days. The crew worked all day and all night around the clock to make it happen because, as Heavy D said, you do whatever Chuck Norris wants you to do, no questions asked. But their crazy stunts were what really pushed the limits of what was possible. They built something called a somersault truck, which was a vehicle with a special cage that could literally do a full forward flip in the air. Their first try with an egg-shaped cage didn't work because the shape soaked up too much energy when it flipped. So they talked with Heavy D's brother, who was an applied physics professor at a college, and they redesigned it with a more circular cage that let it complete the flip successfully. But their most ambitious and biggest idea was something called the Monster Jump live event, where Heavy D planned to jump a monster truck over a flying airplane on live television for the whole entire world to see at the same time. He was on top of the world at that moment, a self-made millionaire and a beloved TV star that everyone loved. But as his fame rose higher and higher, a dark shadow was starting to form and grow, one that would soon threaten to block out all of the light and success. The people's hero, to the millions of people who watched his show and followed him on the internet, Heavy D was way more than just a celebrity who built cool trucks for a living. He was a real hero to them. He carefully built an image of himself as a good, down-to-earth family man who cared about others. He met his wife Ashley at church, and they got married a year later after dating. He talked a lot about how much he loved her and their 3 children, whose names were Charlie, Beau, and Mac. This wasn't just an act for TV. This was the man he showed to the world, and people really loved him for being that way. But it was his actions outside of the shop that truly made him seem like a real-life superhero to many people. When disaster hit somewhere, Heavy D was often one of the very first people to show up and help out. After Hurricane Harvey destroyed parts of Texas with historic rainfall and flooding that forced over 30,000 people to leave their homes, he flew his own personal helicopter down there to help with relief efforts. He didn't just fly the helicopter around, he sent 6 semi-trucks loaded up with supplies and rescue equipment all the way to Houston. He used his skills and special equipment to help in search and rescue missions for missing people, like when they were searching for a teenager named Dylan Rounds who had disappeared. He also helped people stranded in snow in California. He even helped the family of a pilot who had died to pull out a plane wreck from a wilderness area that was hard to reach. His willingness to give and be generous seemed to have absolutely no limits at all. Every single year he organized huge toy drives to make absolutely sure that kids in need would have a Merry Christmas with presents. In one famous story that people talk about, he saw a video of a family being picked on and kicked out of their camping spot by mean people. He was so touched and moved by their story that he found the family, brought their broken-down truck to his shop, and gave it a complete top-to-bottom makeover for totally free, even getting companies like Polaris to donate a brand new 4-seater UTV vehicle to them. These acts of kindness and helping others were real and made a huge difference in people's lives forever. They were also heavily filmed and shared on his social media channels, which built him an army of loyal fans who would support him. This image of a selfless hero made his eventual fall from grace all the more shocking and tragic to witness. He had built up so much goodwill and positive feelings, creating a kind of protective armor of public opinion all around himself. Many people believed that a man who did so much good for others couldn't possibly be a bad guy at heart. This belief would make him feel untouchable and above the rules, but it offered absolutely no protection from the law and legal system. The law comes knocking. While Heavy D was building his reputation as a hero to millions, a group of doctors in Utah was growing more and more concerned and worried about something. They were called Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, or UPHE for short, and their mission was to fight for cleaner air for all the people living in their state. And they saw Heavy D and the Diesel brothers as a major part of the air pollution problem. In 2017, they filed a lawsuit in court that would change absolutely everything about his life. The lawsuit said that the Diesel brothers were breaking a very important federal law called the Clean Air Act. They were illegally changing their diesel trucks by taking out the pollution control equipment that was supposed to be there. This process is often called deleting the emission system, and it involves using defeat devices to trick and fool the truck's computer system. Why would they do something like this? Some truck owners believe that deleting these systems gives the engine more power and better fuel economy, and it helps them avoid paying for expensive repairs on complicated parts that break down. For the Diesel brothers, it also allowed them to do something that became a signature part of their brand and what made them famous, which was rolling coal. That's when a truck shoots out huge clouds of thick black smoke from its exhaust pipes into the air. It looked really cool to their fans who watched, but the doctors at UPHE knew the dark and scary truth about it. That black smoke is full of poison that can hurt people. According to the doctors and the Environmental Protection Agency, when you remove the pollution control equipment from a truck, you turn that truck into a disease-generating machine that makes people sick. To prove their point and show evidence, UPHE bought a truck directly from Sparks Motors and had it tested by professionals. The results they got back were absolutely shocking and scary. The truck released 36 times more pollutants and 21 times more particulate matter into the air than a normal truck would release. This pollution is connected to very serious health problems like asthma, especially in young children, lung disease, heart attacks, and even different types of cancer. The lawsuit wasn't just about smoke coming from trucks, It was about the health and safety of the entire community and all the people living there. The very same thing that helped make the Diesel brothers famous and successful was now right at the center of a legal battle that threatened to completely destroy their entire empire and everything they built. A war on two fronts. The lawsuit was a long and brutal fight that lasted for years. The doctors group first sued Heavy D and his companies for an incredible amount of $114 million. Heavy D decided to fight back against them with everything he had and all his resources. He didn't see himself as someone who polluted the air and hurt people. In his eyes, this was a personal attack against him and his character. He told his fans that the lawsuit was just a money grab by bad actors and overly passionate environmental attorneys who were twisting and bending the law to make a profit for themselves. He believed he was standing up to a broken system that wasn't fair and fighting for his freedom and rights. His millions of followers and other influencers in the truck world all rallied behind him to support him, creating a powerful echo chamber that told him he was the hero in this story, fighting against government overreach and control. But in the courtroom where the trial happened, the story was very, very different from what he believed. In March 2020, a federal judge ruled against him in court, finding that he and his co-defendants had broken the law hundreds and hundreds of times. The judge hit them with a massive penalty of over $850,000 that they had to pay. Heavy D refused to give up his fight and appealed the decision to a higher court. But in December 2021, the appeals court sided with the doctors, largely agreeing with the ruling and calling his actions flagrant misconduct, which means really bad behavior. To make matters even worse for him, the court ordered him to pay for UPHE's legal fees and lawyer costs, which added nearly another $1 million to his bill that he owed. He was now facing a total debt of almost $2 million that he had to pay. While this legal war was raging and going on, Heavy D's judgment seemed to get cloudier and worse, and he made other decisions that hurt his public image and reputation. He very publicly supported his good friend Trevor Milton, who was the founder of the electric truck company called Nikola Motors. He stood by Milton even after Milton was convicted and found guilty of massive fraud for lying to investors and scamming them out of millions and millions of dollars. Milton's company had become famous after releasing a video that seemed to show their electric semi-truck driving on its own power and working perfectly. But it was later revealed and exposed that they had just rolled it down a hill to make it look like it was working. Despite the conviction, Heavy D's loyalty was so strong that he joined Milton in an attempt to take over the company's board of directors. This led Nikola to sue them both in court. Then came what people call the Z car disaster that made fans really angry. He posted a YouTube video showing his crew crushing and destroying dozens of classic Datsun and Nissan Z cars with heavy equipment. The backlash from car lovers and enthusiasts was huge and very angry at him. He quickly deleted the video from the internet and apologized, saying the cars were just rusty junk that couldn't be saved or fixed anyway. But the damage to his reputation was already done and couldn't be undone. Some fans also began to criticize him for glorifying and praising dangerous figures like the Killdozer Man, and for what they saw as a new arrogant attitude that was all about showing off his wealth and money. He bought a $500,000 Ripsaw tank from the rapper Kanye West, a vehicle so extreme and intense he called it every man's wet dream come true. He also purchased military Black Hawk helicopters, trusting only one mechanic in the entire country to work on them and fix them. The hero of the people was starting to look like just another celebrity who thought the rules didn't apply to him at all.